Alrighty, so good evening, everybody. I think I'm live, and I'm going to check to see if I'm live on all my platforms very quickly. As I say, good evening, good evening, good night, good afternoon, or even good morning, of course. As I always say, depending on where in the world that you might be joining me from, and I might need a little help. So if you are hearing me and seeing me, let me know that you're hearing me and seeing me. Let me know and live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube. Let me know where you are seeing me, hearing me, joining me from, which part of the world you're joining me from. Let me know. I would love to um, chat with you guys. So I'm checking here. Let me just check my handles and see. And as we wait for and very live on LinkedIn. So I think I'm live everywhere. So I'm excited and happy and glad about this. Again, let me know where you are joining me from. Let me know if you're hearing me and seeing me clearly to this evening. And of course, I hail from the beautiful Trinidad and Tobago. Hello, Janice. Janice is from Jamaica. Okay, so hello, and joining us on link from LinkedIn. So I'm glad. And Carlene. All right. Okay, Caribbean currently vacationing in Canada. Wonderful. So I'm glad. Okay, so tonight, of course, I'm hailing from beautiful Trinidad and Tobago. We have some little rainy, sporadic rains and some humidity. But this evening, I have a wonderful session, and I'm partnering with, a Bajan, and we're going to talk about a little bit of finance in terms of entrepreneurship because it's a very, very tricky area for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Um, and before that, I want to plug a little bit a digital entrepreneurship course that I am collaborating with CETAL College on that starts next week, right? We have a lot of persons, we're living and moving in a digital space. Persons still are hesitant in many ways in terms of how do we begin to build a business and a brand online? How do I sell products and services online? Can I, as a Caribbean national, export my product or service regionally and internationally? And this course is a very practical course that I'm co-facilitating with another lecturer and colleague of mine, right? Again, it's going to run for 12 weeks and it's going to cover everything from getting that idea very clear in terms of what it is you want for your business, what do you want to present to the market and to the world, and then it goes through a series of other um, practical skill building exercises. So I say it's somewhat like an incubator. You'll go through like business planning, understanding your customer, understanding your market. We're gonna talk about all the social media platforms, building out your brand on social media. We just had Threads launched, and I think persons are overloaded too as well. That oh my goodness, there is now a new social media platform. That'll be an interesting discussion as well because it's attached to Instagram, which is attached to Facebook, which is attached to WhatsApp. So that's like a whole community on its own. So I do encourage persons who are thinking about diving into entrepreneurship and not too sure about what to do, or persons who are perhaps entrepreneurs already but need to have a better understanding of how to build their brand in a digital space. I do encourage you to reach out to me or to reach out to Seattle College, right? And with that said, I want to bring on Marcia, and I'll give Marcia an opportunity to introduce herself. But as I mentioned, Marcia again is really a subject matter expert in all things finance. And for me, as an entrepreneur and as a person that coach a lot of entrepreneurs, this is a really, really huge sticking point. And it is I mean, it literally could make or break you. It literally could stifle your growth. It literally, it could be, it could sadden you at points, because you need your finances to grow. You need your finances to market your business. You need finances to build the brand and the and to build the legacy that you would want. So this is a very wonderful topic, important to me, and of course, Marcia is the subject matter expert. So, Marcia, who hails from Barbados, thank you so much for joining me. And Marcia, I'll let you introduce yourself. I think you just have to unmute.
Well, I would definitely need to have my mic to speak. So, good night and greetings to everyone. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Debbie. My name is Marcia Armstrong, and I'm the founder of A Purpose Life. I am a financial coach and consultant to corporate millennial professionals as well as entrepreneurs. I help educate, equip, and empower you in your finances so that you're able to create generational wealth. So, in
Hmm.
essence, I help you to see money a bit differently.
Okay. Okay. All right. And Marcia, maybe you could maybe before we jump into that, maybe
Mhm.
you could just answer perhaps why you chose this particular career path. I think persons
Great,
are always interested in why persons end up in the space that they are in.
Great question. I worked in banking for 10 years, and in the year of 2020, that is when the pandemic would have been very heightened at that point.
Mm-hmm.
The branch that I would have worked at would have closed their doors, and I had an option. I was given the opportunity to continue with the bank, but in a different country. However, because I registered my business that same year, I decided to kind of bet on myself and
Right.
get into personal finance. But the reason why I have so much passion about it is that I experienced my own financial breakthrough in 2018. Whereas that I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm a giver. I'm someone who loves to give, and I realized that every time that I give to someone in need, I was literally waiting on my next paycheck, and I knew something was wrong. I was making
Mm-hmm.
good money, but I could not see where my money was going. And because
Right.
of one conversation, one prayer about giving, I literally was able to learn everything I could about personal finance. And I became debt free in 1 year later in 2019. And I was able
Wow.
to repay a 4 year loan in only 12 months.
What?
So you exactly. So you can just imagine the excitement when I realized that I was kind of coasting through life, and I realized how free I was at the end of that loan when I was able, I was positioned to repay a loan 4 years early. That is not something that you
Mm,
hear about too
no.
regular. And
No.
therefore I wanted to use my experience and help other people also experience financial breakthrough. And I am happy to say to date that I have helped other persons pay off more than $100,000 of debt.
Wow. 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 That's big. That's big. And I think a lot of it is also it is thinking in a new way, right? Thinking about money in a new way. I
Yes.
think that I think and maybe, it's a Caribbean thing and we didn't grow up that way. We didn't learn those things in school. So I want to so let me ask you, as persons that are getting into entrepreneurship for the first time, what are some of those what advice would you give them in terms of beginning that financial planning, as they say, okay, I want to step into entrepreneurship, I want to start this business, I want to open a business. What should they be thinking about in terms of money?
What I will say first and foremost is that you have to know what your why is. Because in
Mm,
business, trust me, you will experience struggles and you will experience, some bumpiness in your journey. And you have to remember why you are in business, and it cannot be money. Money cannot be your only factor. Because if your main motivation is money, you will continue to chase it. So
yeah.
it is understanding what your why is so that you serve first and then money follows you. Secondly,
Mm,
what it will say as well is that you need to know, you have to have a particular plan in place in regards to where you see yourself. So in regards to planning, you have to have an idea who are you targeting, right? Is your product or your service something that has been tested? Because a lot of us have a particular product or service that we believe is a change maker, right? We believe that it is innovative. However, if there's not a need, people will not buy. So it is to
absolutely.
understand who you're selling to, what you're selling to, and what is the financial projection that you have attached to that as well. I was also going to say as well, you need to know, okay, what is your goal in regards to know your numbers? Because a lot of us want to get into business, but we don't even know our own personal numbers. And
Mm,
when you get into business, you need to understand that whatever you're charging, whatever it is that you're offering on the market, it has to be able at minimum to cover your costs. So it is not just about just jumping into something, but it's understanding the dynamics behind it, because numbers tell you a story. So you want to be in a position where you're budgeting, right? You know what your
mm,
budget is, not only for your business, but for your personal life as well, because then you can set targets. You know exactly, okay, what do I need to make or go past to make a profit? Because business is not something that we want to be fleeting. We want business to be a scenario, whereas that it is sustained. And another
mm,
issue I think people do as well is they don't count the cost. So even in regards to your sources of income, how is the business going to be funded? In the beginning, when you're working your 9 to 5, you might use your salary from the 9 to 5 to fund your business, right? In the
correct. Yep.
beginning.
Yep.
However, at some point, you have to realize, okay, at which point in time do I then extract myself, in regards to going full on into the business and building it to the point that I want to build it to? So, what I will say is that you want to start off your journey the right way, meaning make sure that you are registered. Anything that's legal in nature, registration of the business, any legal or tax implications, make sure that you're covered from the start. Make sure you have a
Mm,
structure from the beginning, because it will be costly when you get into business for a couple years
yes.
and then realize you have to undo a lot of stuff. That is waste money.
Yes.
So you want to be
Mm,
positioned very early o'clock, and you also want to understand, have something to track your finances. A lot of people are in business, they do not have any accounting system or software to track how they're performing in business. They're literally just doing business day to day. And when you are just
yes.
doing business like that, it means you have no financial plan and you're not in a position to make accurate or sound decisions in regards to
Yes.
where you should go in your business. And we also have to remember that other people, also known as bankers or any financial institution, investors, people like to see data. And so in order for you to be able to provide a financial statement, whether it is a balance sheet, a profit and loss statement, a cash flow statement, you
Mm,
can't do that if you don't track what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So it's about
mm,
having systems in place, because it is a system that you can plug in into any model. And once you have a system, you will get the expected result. But if you are just working, if you approach your business like a hobby, if you approach your business without structure, it will be very hard to determine whether or not you are performing well.
Wow, you touched on many things there, and
Yes.
and I want to. You mention, you know what, I like the fact that you mention as you begin to build a business, of course, you have your business finance and your personal finance, and many times persons mix that up. Many times
Yes.
they don't know where money is going, and they really don't plan. They don't separate it. They don't say, okay, my business has to pay me, and I still have to have money to run it and to
Yes.
grow it, and maybe at some point in time to hire staff and to do those things. And so I see that as a real issue for all entrepreneurs and scaling. And the other thing you mentioned there in terms of banking and finance, a lot of entrepreneurs complain, and yes, we do have a lot of issues here in terms of getting financing here. But I also think one of the major issues or faux pas is that we don't think about that side. We don't think about, okay, if I get into business and I'm in business for 3 years, perhaps I would want to diversify. Perhaps I want to get into some new project, and I may not have the financial backing. But if I didn't create if I didn't have strong financials, if I didn't document what I was doing, if I didn't
Yes.
have things lodged in the bank so that it becomes easier to then have a conversation, then it is it's much more difficult. So you've touched on a lot of things, a lot of things that people need to think about, and to me it comes with planning. So let me ask you then, what so in so many things you mention are mistakes there. So what are some of the mistakes you see with all entrepreneurs? What mistakes are they making with their money?
Definitely one of the major ones that I see is the commingling of funds.
Yeah.
Persons do
But
not do the.
it's tough, Mars, yeah, especially in the beginning because for exactly why you said that, right? Which is in the
Mhm.
beginning, which is true for me as well. You use your full time income to help begin to support your business. So in a way, I don't want to say you start with a bad habit, but you have said, okay, I'm going to use my money to
Mhm.
help to grow it. And then at some point in time, you know, you do need to, I think, separate the two. And I think that doesn't occur to entrepreneurs. So yes.
Yeah, so but that is a very good point you made. Yes, in the beginning, you won't technically have anything to put there. But what I will say is that I don't believe personally that we need to get ready when something happens. I
Right,
believe that it is important to be prepared for what you want.
right,
So I know at some point I will need a business account. So
right.
what I would do in the beginning would be to look and see, okay, let me communicate with the different places to find out, okay, what are the requirements to open an account so that I
Good.
am then positioned to get myself ready to do so. But if you
Mm,
don't, as you would have mentioned, when you fail to put things in place in the beginning, it's very hard to undo habits.
yes. Yeah.
And so that is a very big problem, right? And not having the account actually is linked to other factors. So we have
Mm,
other factors such as tracking, because I can't really track what I'm doing in my business if I don't have a house or a home for my finances to go.
right.
Because if
Okay.
everything is mixed up, I don't know what is personal, I don't know what is for the business. And then
Right.
when it comes to, and it even has an implication for persons who do taxes, because
Mm-hmm.
then when you're doing your taxes, then you might put some things in there that has nothing to do with the business side, and
Mm-hmm.
that might be pulled as data to run the to do the particular filing. So there is a ripple effect from it. I know persons will not. I won't say that I was ready in the beginning, but I knew where the route I wanted to go. And
Right.
what kind of drove me as well, Debbie, is that I started to picture whenever I reach out to a corporation or a company, I want to be seen, I want to look professional. I don't want a
Right.
situation where I'm invoicing businesses and I'm telling them to send money to my personal account under Marcia Armstrong, right? So we
Very
got to
true.
show persons that we are
Very
serious,
true.
because small business persons really and truly don't get the level of respect sometimes. And so if you
Yes.
don't have your ducks in a row, I guess because I
Mhm.
come from banking, I've worked in banking for
Yes.
10 years. And I think
Yes.
that internal, that type of compliance hat or internal control part of me is in there. So I guess
Mhm.
I don't do things, I want to do things like off the cuff. I always look at the
Yes.
impact though. I always look at and see, okay, how will somebody view me? Because if you're going to be serious about business, we gotta look the part, right?
Well,
We gotta look the actual part.
you
Mm,
made me. I just had a like a aha because
mm,
you talk about that, and I would say it from from a marketing perspective. Your reputation, your brand is important. So what you say and how you deliver. But I didn't think about it from the point of view that your financials. And when you go to an organization and you have to bid on particular jobs, um, how I mean you can't say, hey, okay, send it to my personal account, right? You want to show that you have a certain a reputation and a standard. You want to look professional and so on. So again, it manifests through many roles. It's not just from a marketing perspective or building that brand,
yeah.
but so we need to get our house in order as well. So you have to do that work. You have to do that financial work, the legal work, and all that stuff. So I think that's
As
really
as exactly. And what I would say as well too is that as businesses, as entrepreneurs, we have to manage our cash flow as well.
hmm,
I find that is not the case, right? If you're not able to be in a position where you can forecast, like even from a personal perspective, I know what my expenses are throughout the year,
right.
because again, you spend money. So it means
Yes.
that you have something to look at, whether it is a bank statement, credit card statement. The same thing applies to your business. You should have an idea of what your costs are, right? What are your
Mm,
startup costs? What are your operational costs in regards to day to day? You should have an idea of what you're doing again, because you have data to look at. Because when we
yes.
actually do the work, data is able to tell you or to position you to know, okay, which direction should you go. But it is like social media, for instance, we have insights. When you post on social media platforms, you have what is called insights. It tells you
Hmm.
what posts perform well, what is the reach for the particular post, what is the level of engagement. So you want to be able to treat your finances the same way. As you input information based on what you would have received in revenue and what you would have spent in outflow, what is the data telling you? Is it telling you that you aren't making as much revenue and you need to then do more, do more prospect, do more selling?
Yes.
If you have too many expenses, is it a scenario whereas that you need to become more resourceful?
Hmm.
So again, it causes you to ask questions. So when it comes to cash flow, if you don't have a system again in place to manage your cash flow, then you will always have to be out in fires. It will always be a crisis after a crisis after a crisis. It is to
Yes.
understand, okay, with my cash flow, do I have an issue with invoicing people? Because we have people that
Right.
work and don't invoice people. So is it
Yes.
a scenario where I'm not invoicing people? I'm not actually sending out bills for people to pay? Or if I
Wow.
do send out things for people to pay, am I following up with the client to make sure, okay, what is my turnaround time in regards to sending the bill and getting my money in? Another area as well is vendors,
That's
right?
big. That's
When we
big.
speak about,
That's huge.
yeah, when we speak
Hmm.
about suppliers, right? Who you owe now, know who the business owes. What is the relationship with the supplier? Do I have, can I buy on credit? Meaning I am given 30 days to pay, 15 days to pay, 60. Like, what is the relationship there, right? So it is all about understanding how you can manage your cash flow so that at minimum you're covering your working day-to-day operational costs.
Wow. Okay. You give me some really good things there, Marcia, because I really do, I do think people that whole idea of not of invoicing. I've entrepreneurs tell me that they forget to invoice. The
Mhm.
client is asking them for the invoice. Then they don't want to run down the client. I say, but
Mhm.
this should be a part of your terms and conditions from
Yeah.
since the quotation stage.
Yeah.
How do you give them credit? Do you want them to pay right away? I
Hmm.
mean, these things are things that you are supposed to work out beforehand, so
Yes.
that you don't get yourself in those types of issues or problems.
Yes, and
So,
especially when it comes to small businesses in particular, what it
hmm,
will say is that, a lot of times a lot of persons work and they have to run behind bigger corporations to pay them. So what I normally would
right,
tell persons, if there are different pricing strategies, right? Whether or not you get a
yes,
deposit, you can lock in a deposit, whereas you get something to start, because we have instances where people do a full job and don't get paid.
correct,
So, so
correct,
these things happen. So these
yes,
are things that happen. So you have to protect yourself as well and recognize that what you're offering is something of value. And in order for you to be able to, I won't say like demand, but it's all about teaching people how to treat you. And
yes,
again, it comes back to the notion of how do you actually show up in the space? How do you show up as a business? Because people can tell the difference in regards to
right,
persons who are aware and persons who are confident and persons who are sure of what it is that they're doing. Because if I come across as not having, that level of confidence, then someone might take my price and beat it right down to nothing. And for
yes,
some of us, right, we just want to pay a bill. We just want to be able to say, okay, I just want to pay this bill, or I just want to make this money fast. We don't think about the long term because we just want to cover the day. So we operate from a place, again, as from a survival standpoint, really and truly, because we just want to be able to get something, anything. And that type of desperate behavior is something that is seen by other people. It is like blood in the water, where other
mm,
prayers can, other people are just praying on you, just waiting on you. So it's all about understanding what you bring to the table, making sure you have systems and structures in place. And if you don't know, right, liaise with someone that does. Don't be
that
afraid to
does,
ask for
yes,
help. Don't be afraid I don't know everything, right? But I'm not afraid to ask questions either.
yes, yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a tough one. That's a tough one. You said some thing there that that an entrepreneur told me already, and they said there we I have this big bill that I have to pay, so I need this project,
Yep.
and exactly what you're saying there is they are operating from a space of survival. of
Yes.
yes, I need this, and so they were saying, Debbie, I'm going to follow up with the client, and so I said, but you have to give them time, you have to give them the week. When you're following up like that, it's unnecessary. So I hear you. I think people really do need a lot of what I'm hearing from our discussion is a lot of planning, a lot of foresight, a lot of translating um, this the brand and the business that you are building is more. It has a lot of layers to it, and you have to think about not just your product or your service or your brand, but that you have to think about the operational side, you have to think about the legal side, you have to think about financial planning and all those things. And it's so interesting. So as we begin to wrap up here a little bit, I open up the floor. If anybody wants to ask any questions, Marcia, feel free, of course, to put it in the comments and we will answer them. The very last thing I want to ask you about, Marcia, and especially as you said you've had many years in banking, is financing and sourcing for entrepreneurs. And I'm sure in Barbados, although I think it's a little bit better than Trinidad, it's that's a common thing all entrepreneurs complain about, right? Um, we have a lot of issues, of course, with receiving payments as well in terms of the e-commerce side and just being able to access. But
Yes.
fun, and especially, I don't think it's so much of an issue for service-based entrepreneurs, because a lot of the times we kind of fund ourselves. But especially when you have a product or you're manufacturing or you're purchasing for resale,
The resale.
you need that cash flow. So tell me a little bit about financing or sourcing and what entrepreneurs are supposed to do if they, you know, have a product that they know inevitably they are going to need financing to really get it off the ground, to launch it or to expand
So a great question as well. What I will say is that, when it comes to small businesses or micro businesses, it is very difficult to get funded. Because when you go into the banking system, they have their process. And
it.
most of
Right.
the time, when you look at the list, it can be very daunting in regards to the number of
Yes.
things you have that they ask for. And I mean, it is their process and policy. So you can't really complain against it. But what I will say is that, most of the time, what is on the list, persons don't have, because many people
Mm,
just start a business. That's it. They might register the business name, and really that's how far they get to. Again, it's just about providing a need, providing a product or service to match a need to make money. So
yes.
everyone doesn't have that whole in-depth breakdown of, okay, but send the business plan or send me 2 years financials and 2 years projections. And it's like, that's a whole
Mhm.
different world in regards to, like, where do I start to even get this from? I think that there's an educational gap in regards
Mm,
to what is available,
right. Agree.
because you don't really hear for me personally, I don't really see a lot of advertising in that area. I am blessed to be able to work with an organization in Barbados Trust Loans Limited, Trust Loans Limited. I've been blessed to work with them, because by working through them, and this is a state agency, this is something that it has been funded by the government in Barbados. But what they've done is that they've created a space for persons. Now, these are the people now that will not necessarily get maybe the time of day in a bank, in regards to opening, and getting funding, because in their scenario, it is unsecured. So you don't have to put up collateral, right? So the
Mhm.
onboarding process is very, very straightforward and easy compared to other places that will ask you for a lot of things. But it is all about investigating and ask yourself, okay, where are the organizations that I can go to? So I think it's about educating yourself in regards to what's out there. And I think a
Yes.
lot of persons do not take that time to actually do research. I find that in entrepreneurship, for some reason, persons feel like it's success falls into your lap and they don't have to work.
Yes. Yep.
There are a lot of things that I do right behind the scenes, whereas I gather information, because information is an asset.
Yes.
Knowledge is an asset. When you
Yes.
know things, you do things differently. So
Absolutely.
again, it's about knowing what's out there. So I can speak for Barbados in particular, Debbie. I really can't speak for the other
Yes.
Caribbean countries. But what I
Sure.
would say is that we have a couple. We have BIDC. So we have organizations in Barbados that actually assist in dealing with manufacturers, again, persons in the service industry, persons that are dealing with farming and agriculture. So there's certain sectors, the wines industry, the beauty
Mm,
industry. So there are different sectors, or sectors that are within Barbados, where that there are different organizations that would assist you in the process, whether or
right.
not they offer you funding, whether or not they offer you mentorship. I heard you mention about the incubator, accelerator earlier. That's
Yes.
one form of providing like seed funding or mentorship, in that
Yes.
regard, to help people to be able, or educate people as well, so that they are aware, they have the business acumen as well to know how to handle the disbursement or the finances that they're given. We don't want a
Mm,
scenario where persons get money and don't know how to leverage it, because then
yes.
it just becomes another type of debt, right? So
Very.
we have to be
Yep.
able to borrow the money, right? Or in some instances, get grants, because grants are also something that
Grants.
that
Yes.
is available, as well.
Yes.
But again,
Yes.
if we are not set up, the Caribbean is not set up like overseas or internationally, where you can just go on one website and see all of the grants that are
Correct.
available. We are not
Yes.
set up. We're not set up that way. So normally,
Yes.
what will happen is that you have to wait and see when persons actually advertise grants to be able to
Yes.
apply for it, right? That's number one. But what I will say as well too is that if you know certain organizations do offer grants or scholarships or sponsorship, what you could do as well too is to be able again to do research to know when these things usually become available and prepare yourself. So if you want to get
Right.
a grant, what are the requirements for the grant, prepare a grant proposal so that you are able at any point in time, whenever a grant arises and it is in alignment with your business, because not every grant will suit your business. And some people will
Right.
not grant you, will not give you the grant because it does not fall in line with their corporate social responsibility, right?
Right.
So it is to
Okay.
know, okay, for this type of business, maybe they're dealing with the youth, maybe they're dealing with homelessness. If it is in an
Mm.
area that matches what your company's core values are, what your
Uh-huh.
company's mission is, it makes more sense so that when they
Yes.
do align with you, everything has a synergy. So again, it comes back to knowing it comes back to knowing your actual business and what it is that you're trying to achieve. Because if I can't articulate what I want my business to do, it's going to be very hard for people to give you money,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
If you're not able to
Mhm.
put it in a sentence. So we have BDIC. We also have the Small Business Association. Again, that is where, many businesses will come under one umbrella, and they find that they do a very, very good job in regards to highlighting people in that association, and also providing a directory. What I love about that is that if you
Um,
need help in an area, I don't have to look outside of FBA. I can look
yeah.
within the organization for assistance and be able to rotate or allow that money to flow within the organization itself. So again, it's just understanding. You have fund access. This is another big one in Barbados. This is a non-governmental organization that also provides funding as well at different levels. And what I would say, any type of funding that is tied to government, you will realize that the interest rates will be very low, right? The
Right.
interest rates will be lower, which means that persons will be able to save money over the long term and paying interest, but it will also be manageable as well. But business credit, which is something that a lot of people don't talk about, right? Credit is very important, because
Mm.
if your business credit is not the best, then
Yes.
when it comes to like commercial banks and persons outside now of the state organizations or state funding, when it comes to those persons, it might be a little hard to give you money because you're seen as high risk. So it is to
Mm.
understand that there are implications when it comes to your business structure, right? That says
Mm.
a lot. If I'm a sole proprietor, I know that when something goes wrong, everything is at me to be able to deal with, because all the liability falls at me. However,
Yeah.
if I'm incorporated, I know that an incorporated business is a separate legal entity that has its own board. It pretty much it's deemed as a person. So if anything had to happen, then I know that organization will be the person that will get all the, whatever it is that might
Yes.
arise. So it is
Yes.
to understand however you construct your business, how you run your business determines, right, the level of access or
Mm.
finances that you would receive over the long term.
Right.
But we don't take this deep at the beginning, right? We
No.
don't take this deep at the beginning. But everything has a ripple effect. So
Mm-hmm. You take it easy.
outside of those organizations, as you would have mentioned, you can start the business with your own personal finances where you fund it. You can ask
Right.
for money from your family or your friends to help you, to assist you in that regard. Or it could be a situation where you might do, what's called a venture capitalist, or
Right.
somebody or angel investors can
Yes.
invest in your business. But again, it's to make sure that your business is seen as something that has the potential to make whatever revenue it has to make. But understand as well, when you bring other people into your circle or into your
Mm.
business, someone is going to take something, right? So
Yes.
something's going to be taken away, whether it is a cut of the business, whether it is a portion of shares, equity in the business. Persons are not going to just invest because they love you, right? They
Yes.
have to be able to get a
Yes.
return on their
Turn.
investment. So what I would say overall in regards to how do you fund, it is to first investigate and see what is available in your respective country. Know what's available
Yes.
to you. When you look on the websites, when you make the telephone calls and you look at the requirements, right? Look and see what is being asked, and then you will be able to line it up against what you're doing, and you will see
Right.
where there are any potential gaps. Right? Also have conversations with people. Don't be afraid to take out the phone or book an appointment in person to kind of get that more personalized approach in
Mm-hmm.
regards to how you can make yourself prepared or eligible for anything that can happen in the future. So again, it comes back down again to preparing. Right? You might not
Yes.
have everything now, but it's to prepare for it so that you don't have to wait till the opportunity arises and then scamper to get
Yeah,
ready.
right. Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Lauren here says sometimes the banking requirements cause individuals to abandon other aspects of the business, like registering and having the business account, etc. So that sometimes contributes to the modeling of the business and the personal financing. So okay, so she's saying sometimes the banking requirements make it a little bit hard, and and that's why persons at times,
Yeah,
mix
because persons,
the
yeah,
personal and
cause
the business financing.
yeah, cause persons can get frustrated. Honestly, when you think about it, right? If you're being told no all the time, if you're
Yeah,
being rejected all the time, right? Some persons might just give up. And that is
yeah,
why we have a situation in Barbados where even when it comes to national insurance, a part of being a business owner is that you are registered as in the case of a sole proprietor. Once you're not working for somebody else, you can register. And we have a situation in Barbados where at one point we don't know if the money at our social security is enough for persons that are gonna need it in 20, 25 years from now. Right. And the thing is
yeah.
that one of the points that would have been highlighted is that self-employed persons were not contributing to the fund. Only one of
Mm,
eight they would have mentioned was being captured. So you have a
wow,
scenario where that there are people who are, I guess, like how they say that people are on banks or on holes, and there's an element where as that they're not capturing revenue, although it is
wow,
really compulsory to be able to, when it comes to filing for income tax and, doing taxes, you're supposed to report all income streams. There are many people who do not even file taxes as entrepreneurs
correct.
at all, right? Although it is a requirement, but
Yes,
persons don't do it. So
yes.
again, people ask themselves, why should I expense myself if I'm not seeing the benefit back?
Yeah, got you.
And
Yeah.
that is the comment persons raise. So again, it's
Mhm.
about having the right governance structure, because we push entrepreneurship and we say we want persons to be able to get into an area that can make more money for themselves. But Debbie, when you look at the environment, it's not conducive. When it comes
Yeah,
to payment platforms, it's a big headache,
yes, it is. It
especially
is.
dealing with it internationally. So we are
Yes,
speaking on one hand, but we're not talking to the person on the ground floor that
correct.
actually experiencing the hiccups in trying to
Yes.
get money. Because if I charge my rate, by the time that payment processing fees hit my
Oh,
actual money, it's
yep.
like I could have
Yeah.
not do it at all.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Those costs are like ridiculous, and I mean, you want to be
exactly.
competitive. You want to be competitive at the same time, but it's true. It's true. So
Yeah,
that's like that's a
a whole different topic. Yes.
whole very different stuff. So Marcia, just as we wrap up here, let everyone know where they can find you and reach out to you and how you help them again, because I think this is so important. And Marcia, to perhaps to touch on the fact that, what I think persons at times feel, perhaps I need a financial coach or I need a mentor, but I don't have the finances. And to me, that's like a chicken and an egg scenario, because I also said that as well, right? Coaching, I don't
Hmm.
know if I need coaching, but when I invested in coaching in 2018, I saw a huge difference, right? It gave me clarity. I understood my purpose. I knew my next steps for the next 12 months. And I thought I did. I thought I did, but I really didn't until I spoke to the coach, and the coach said, you really should do this, this, and this, right?
Hmm.
And that was very, very helpful. So let let persons know a little bit more about what you do and how they could reach out to you, where, and how they could begin to work with you.
Okay, so thanks again for this opportunity, Debbie. So in regards to the financial coaching that I provide, I look at it as a two-pronged approach. I don't only look at finances, I look at self. So
Mm-hmm.
because if you are able to understand what it is that you carry, then
Mm-hmm.
everything that you touch will change. And so when I look at finances, it's holistic in nature because they look at your money mindset. Because again, if I'm thinking from a place of scarcity and lack, nothing I do will ever be sufficient. I will always be looking for the next thing, every shiny object. I will be running here, there, everywhere. When it comes to coaching, I believe that even as a coach, I have coaches and mentors. I've spent thousands in my development. And sometimes what we need as entrepreneurs is to be able to connect with like-minded people, persons that can take you to the next level, persons that can shorten your time frame. So I'm able to, I normally start with a consultation, which is a free consultation too, just to get to know what it is, where you are, where you currently stand. And then from there, then we can build in regards to where you want to go. So it is to currently look at, okay, where are you right now in regards to your finances in your business, right? What is your current revenue that you're making in your business, right? Where do you see what do you want to potentially earn in the business? What are some things you want to achieve within the business? We look at your debt. Are you operating on debt? Or are you operating based again on your own cash flow? So things like that, we kind of like drill right down, understanding who you are targeting, what your product, your offers are, because it's to understand, okay, do we have sufficient offers? We don't want to sell people just one thing. I've been there where I saw one thing and then the client asked me, okay, so what's next? And I had no answer.
Right.
And I learned from that. I never did it again. I never did it again. Right? So I look at where you're at. Then we technically walk across a bridge where you're given different strategies and tools so that you're able to then get to your destination. But you don't do it on your own. You have the accountability. You have the support system. You're able to understand, you know what, I'm not doing it alone. I have someone I can lean on. I have someone that will keep me accountable during that journey. So you can find me on LinkedIn for sure under my own name, Marcia Armstrong. But I'm also on Instagram, and that is my secondary platform or location. You can find me on Instagram under A Purpose Life, A Purpose Life. You can find me on Instagram as well as Facebook under the same name as well. But if you need to contact me, please send a DM. I answer my DMs. Send me a DM on A Purpose Life Instagram page. Send me a message on LinkedIn under my own name, Marcia Armstrong. Send me an email if you need to, info@apurposelife246.com, and let's have a conversation.
Wonderful. Great. Good. Thank you so much, Miles. I really appreciate this because I do, it's conversations with all entrepreneurs that we really get to know what are some of the challenges. And you opened up my eyes. So I think you would have opened up the audience eyes that your brand is more than what you see. You really have to work out a lot of stuff in your mind. You have to work on your mindset. You have a lot of things operationally as well that have to reach to a certain level and standard for your business to really to perform. And part of your message there is also that attraction, because I'm hearing that coming through in what you said, right? Your mindset and what you think is what you will begin to attract as an entrepreneur and as a business business person. So Lawrence, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We have a few persons on LinkedIn and Facebook. So we will chat again soon. Thank you guys. You all take care.
Bye.